Hey witches, how you doing today? Welcome back to the channel. We are talking about how witchcraft magic works. I want to go through sort of the process of magic and then my personal magical theory and how the two sort of work together, the process and the theory, to get magical results. So for those of you who are new around here, my name is Taya. Welcome to the channel where we talk about all things witchcraft. And for those of you who are returning viewers, maybe coming in from another video, welcome back. I appreciate the support. All of you, please consider subscribing. It's a really great way to help us build the channel. So, how witchcraft magic works. I think first we need to define magic. What is magic? So magic is an action taken to utilize spiritual forces to achieve change. Right? Change in the physical world, in our emotions or our mental state, or a change in how we operate within the world. Basically, magic affects change. So, what is the process that we work magic? So I'm actually taking this from The Crooked Path by Keldon. It's a great book, and he's got a really nice little primer on magical basics. And basically, he's got a 4-step process, and I blow it out to 5. So it starts with Step 1 is determine your magical intention. Step 2 is visualize your magical intention. Step 3 is raise or channel the necessary magical power. And then step 4 is project your combined intent and power to your designated target, if you will. I will add a step 5 that I think is so important and so many people forget, is then to have mundane follow-through. And we'll talk about that as we go through. So I'm going to give you my magical theory, and then we're going to take that process of magic and work the theory through it. Okay? So this is sort of something that I'm a thinker, and it's always sort of been brewing in my mind, is how does magic work? And there's a whole lot more to this theory, a whole lot more theology, if you will, around it. But basically, every moment, we have free will, free choice, right? I 100% think we have free choice. But all those choices that we might possibly do in any given moment are laid out in front of us like threads. Okay? And as we choose a thread, it gets woven into the tapestry of our life. Now, the things that are most likely to happen, those threads exist sort of right, they're easily accessible, they're right in front of us, right? Those are usually where we're picking from, is those, those most likely to occur things. I am most likely to keep talking in this video. Am I going to stand up and do a cartwheel? That's within the realm of possibility. I could, but it's probably not one of those threads that I'm just quickly grabbing at, right? And then as the threads sort of spread out and come farther and farther away from center, they are the things that are still within the realm of possibility, but less and less likely. So something like a car is going to drive through the front of my house, right? That's like way out here. Like, theoretically, could that happen? Yeah. But statistically, is that going to happen? No. But it's still within the realm of possibility. So there's a thread for that somewhere. Right? Or that cartwheel, it's probably, halfway out there between the car coming through the house and me just continuing on talking on this video, right? There's this thread that says I'm going to do a cartwheel. And I'm constantly choosing what I want to do, where I want to go. Now, the threads in the center are the most likely threads, and the ones on the edges are the least likely. The further towards the edges, the less likely, but still within the realm of possibility. So the idea that a dinosaur is going to come walking through my living room, that can't happen. Dinosaurs don't exist, right? That it's just not going to happen. So there is no thread for that, right? That is not within the realm of possibility. There is no thread for that. And basically, when we work magic, it rearranges those threads, bringing those less likely things closer to the center. Therefore, increasing the likelihood that we'll choose it or follow it, or, right, that it's going to come into effect in our life, that thread. So that's sort of my magical theory, my thread theory, if you will, and how it, so now we're going to take it, and I want to combine that thread theory with that actual 5-step process of magic, and we'll see how it kind of fits together. So the step 1 is determine your intention. And again, most of these details are taken from Keldon's book, The Crooked Path, because I just love his very basic, simple explanation of the magical process. So step 1 is determine intention. The who, what, where, when, the how. You want to thoroughly define what is your intent. The more detail, the better. But at the same time, we need to remain realistic and flexible. So realistic, i.e. it has to be within the realm of possibility. A thread must exist for it. I can't do magic to make a dinosaur walk through my life. That's not possible. It's not going to happen. So it has to be within the realm of possibility. And the idea that the further out that thread from the center, the harder it's going to be, right? The more magical power, the more stronger our magic will have to be to pull that thread into the center lane. And it also needs to be, so it's realistic, but it also needs to be flexible. So we can't be too rigid. So that's one thread versus many threads. So if we're saying, let's say we're doing a money spell, right? So it has to be realistic. If I'm like, I want $9 billion, I mean, it's within the realm of possibility, but that thread is going to be so far. Imagine the magical power it's going to take to pull that thread from, probably the farthest away thread you can get all the way into the center. And it can't be too rigid. So if you're like, I want to make $1 billion, I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to do a spell to win the lottery. That's giving that magic one way to act, right? Even if you're like, I need $1,000. I need $1,000. If you're like, I'm going to win the lottery, I'm going to win $1,000 in the lottery, you're only giving that spell one way. You're affecting that one thread that says I win the lottery. Versus many threads. If you're like, I need $1,000, but I don't care how it comes to me, I just need $1,000, you're activating all the threads that might have $1,000 at the end of them. You see how that works? So you want to activate many threads, and then you want to pull all those threads into the center so that you've got lots of avenues for that magic to work, right? So my intent is like focusing on the outcome. I'm going to let the spell decide the path through which it comes. So that's the first, is determining your intention. Step 2 is visualizing the intention, turning a specific idea into a clear mental picture. You want to see, hear, smell, taste, touch. You want to have a full tactile experience. If you can't fully imagine it, you might need to either firm up a few more details or maybe let a few details go. And this visualization is how you identify those threads that you're going to rearrange. So when you see yourself with money, right, you just see yourself holding $1,000. I can feel $1,000 cold hard cash in my hand. I can see a check for $1,000 sitting in my hand. That's going to trigger all those related threads. That's what's going to kind of wake them up, is that visualization. That's going to pick out those threads. Step 3 is raise or channel the power. So power is what fuels our magical working, right? So you can do internal power, which is sort of naturally inherent in every witch. You can use, visualization, right? You can visualize that power building and growing within you, or you can use movement. So like drumming and chanting, or dancing or rocking, right? Like seething, that's something I do a lot of, right? Just rocking to sort of build that power up within yourself. Or you can channel external power from an outside source. Like I could channel the power from the beautiful willow tree in my front yard, or I could channel the power of the universe, or channel the power of the earth and the stars, or however you see that happening. So you can channel that power. Or another external source is petitioning a spirit to do the work, right? Petitioning a spirit to move that thread for you. So now that we've raised the power, we've got a clearly visualized intent, and we're raised the power behind it, we're going to combine them together, and we're going to project that combined visualized intent with the power that we've raised and direct it at our desired outcome. And that's what's going to move those threads into play. And then the last thing I have is mundane follow-through, because here's what we have to remember is magic travels the easiest path, right? It's traveling down the easiest path that it can find. That's why we're pulling all those threads to the center so that it's got some pathways to follow, but it's still going to follow the easiest pathway. So again, if we're looking for money, if we're just going to sit on a couch and wait for money to appear, it's going to have a hard time finding an easy path, right? But if we go out and we ask our boss for a raise and we apply at a few new higher paying jobs and we buy a lottery ticket and we maybe enter a contest that's got a cash prize, we're all of a sudden giving all these different ways that the magic can flow, right? You might even go out, and play the lottery or enter a contest. Like there's all different things you can do, right? That are going to sort of increase your odds, because you might get $200 here and $50 there, and you might find a couple quarters on the sidewalk, and you might find, right? But it's all going to add up to that total. But the more pathways, the easier they are to travel, right? The more likely they are, right? If you don't ask your boss for a raise, what's the likelihood that he's going to come and offer you a raise? Not very likely. But if you ask for one, all of a sudden you're statistically much more likely to get one, right? So you need to have that mundane follow-through to really, again, put those threads into play and give the magic easy paths to follow. So yeah, that's kind of my magical theory. That's my process in a nutshell. It's how I imagine magic works, is my thread theory, if you will. So you might think differently. Leave us a comment with your questions or your theories. I'd love to know how everybody else thinks about this stuff. I don't know. I have a brain that works this way, so I would love to know what you think. Leave us a comment, and otherwise, yeah, that's our video for today. I'd say short and sweet, but we're up on 12 minutes now, so I'll just say that's the end of our video, and we'll catch you in the next one. Mwah! Thanks so much, you guys.